Welcome to the Modern Husbands Podcast, where any combination of Dr. Bruce Ross, Christian Sherrill, and Brian Page host national experts who share winning ideas to manage money and the home as a team. I'm Brian Page, founder of Modern Husbands. Sometimes our listeners want more support than a podcast can give, individual or couple support, which I now provide. Details can be found at modernhusbands.com, or you can email me at brian@modernhusbands.com. For today's podcast, we welcome Christine Landis, the founder of Peacock Parent. In this conversation, Christine shares insights on the importance of outsourcing tasks to alleviate the mental load and guilt often felt by parents. The discussion covers societal pressures, the benefits of outsourcing, and practical advice for couples on how to approach the topic of delegation in their lives. Enjoy the show.
Folks, if you are a busy dual career couple and you just feel like that, regardless of what you do, you can never find enough time in the day to run the house and to care for your children the way you want to, this episode is for you. We have Christine Landis on. She's the founder of Peacock Parent. She is an expert and passionate about outsourcing the tasks that busy dual career couples like us have to tackle, we should tackle, but we don't necessarily get around to tackling because we have so many other things going on in our lives. So she's going to walk us through some of those hacks, her journey, and toward the end, she's going to talk about Peacock Parent and how her evolutionary service can support you and any others who find themselves faced with the busy lives of the modern world. Christine, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for that introduction. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about time and just the value of that, especially between couples that, like you said, are both working and busy.
Can you start by explaining what outsourcing is and how it has evolved in the modern world?
So outsourcing to me is really anything that any service you want to hire or really someone you want to delegate to. It's hiring someone to do something either better, faster, more efficiently than you can do yourself. And in the business world, we do this all the time. There's call centers we've outsourced. We're always thinking about the value of, again, whether it be the profit margin of what our employees are doing, how they're spending their time. But we don't apply that same principle to parenthood as far as what's the value of our time, our joy, our energy as parents, especially when we're both working really hard. And, we want to enjoy this good life that we've worked so hard to build.
I always love hearing where passions come from or how they develop from our experts. So where did your passion for supporting couples through outsourcing home management tasks come from?
So I think it started from a place of realizing no one else is doing this. And why is that? And I think that's where the Peacock Parent, the concept of a peacock being unique kind of came from. That I'm a former CEO and I sold my business 6 years ago. I got pregnant shortly after. It was very natural to me to hire different experts to help advise our family, again, outsource tasks that just someone else could either do better, faster, or it just freed me up to feel like I can enjoy this moment or I have time and energy to go on that date with my husband. And so it felt odd to me that no one else was doing it. And when I really dived into that, there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of guilt that especially women feel, but men too. They feel like they need to, with the conversation of mental load coming, full circle, it's this pressure of I need to do it all. I need to go to work and I need to come home and I need to then also help with everything around the house, cook, meal, clean up, and otherwise I'm not doing my part. And to me, there felt like there's an opportunity for us to all talk about how can someone else help both of us, our entire family, and not get into this, bartering system over time between couples.
Very well said. You mentioned like there's those feelings of like guilt, but I've also heard that there's judgment from others. Like if you're not doing it yourself. So it's not just your self pressure, but like there's like peer social pressure of other parents and other couples you have. Do you see that as well?
Absolutely. It's there's, I think, this fear that you're going to sound, like you're spoiled, that you're above anyone, or that, oh, I've hired help. Like, even the way that sounds is just kind of posh, and I think that's really
Almost
my goal. Yeah, it's like to normalize hired help, that it's okay that, you have a nanny to help out, and not just during your working hours, because you have to defend why you have hired help. It's okay that you have someone even on the weekends that might allow you and your partner to sleep in, for once a week in life. And or if you have a meal prep chef come in, so that you don't have to go to the grocery store and think about what to have that week for dinner and do all the prep and shopping. But you can show up for the actual dinner together as a family and really enjoy that. So yes, to your point, it's not just internal, that shame, that guilt. It's really a societal issue that I think we're spending a lot of time trying to get our partners involved. And I'm all about that. And that's absolutely a pro in our society right now. But I also think the focus really needs to be on, how do we all enjoy it together? How do we get our partners together and enjoying our time as a family, that quality time, not just splitting up things.
I think that's very true, and I think it is a redirection of the focus that we do need to focus on, just as a society. How can outsourcing these services actually benefit dual career couples specifically? Like, are there services that are particularly popular for dual career couples?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you go back to time, that's really what's hard about outsourcing, and making some general statements of like, here's the top three, although I do have top three I'll tell you about.
Yeah,
But I
we
think,
want to hear 'em.
it's hard because everyone values their time differently. That's the first piece of the puzzle I really had to break apart when I started Peacock Parent now a year and a half ago, because I thought, why is everyone not doing this? And they should just do X, Y, Z. But besides how you value your time, everyone has something different that they love or dread. And that's really a critical piece of outsourcing, and really determining what's worth hiring, what's worth delegating to somebody else. So if you love to cook, for example, like a meal prep chef might not be what's the right answer and solution for your family. For most families, I will say that's probably the number one, from many surveys and conversations I have. A lot of people that both work, it's not just the physical time to go to the grocery store or put in your online order. It's like the thinking about, what am I even having this week? And what's missing out of the refrigerator, and what do we need to order? And what else? It's not even just the, excuse me, the physical prep of all that food. It's all that thinking. And that's, I think, really where outsourcing and delegating is so powerful, as you're not just helping someone physically do things for you. It's also that mental time it's saving you from dreading that task, from even feeling guilt over not doing it. You see it there and you're like, oh gosh, I have to do that later. It's just, there's a lot of freedom that comes from that, from releasing that dread and welcoming that joy.
Yeah, I can see, like, there can be a hard, like, decision process in that, though, in choosing which things that should be outsourced and which ones we can handle. Like you mentioned cooking and the food prep, and like I think that's good, because like I love cooking, but there is a lot of mental energy in doing the plan for the week, going to the grocery store, picking out the ingredients, seeing what we have. I love the actual cooking aspect of it, but there's a lot of emotional and time and effort, energy, just kind of doing in the other parts of it. But I do find the actual cooking aspect relaxing. So like, how do couples go through that process, or ask the questions of like kind of deciding what task we should outsource, which ones should we keep in the house and handle ourselves?
So in your case, I would say check out emails. That's a great tool. It's an app that lets you, select, it suggests different recipes for you, and it even checks things in your pantry and kind of automatically pulls a grocery list together, so you could still then do the cooking. But
Okay.
to your point, I think it takes a conversation. I do have a guide. It's totally free, about 99 tasks you can delegate, on our website at peacockparent.com. But
99.
part of it is literally going through a list of items and being like, what do you like? What do I like? And then that's a really easy way to see what's left on that paper, of, hey, we both don't like this. Then that's an easy, like, okay, what do we need to do to get this off both of our plates? But if one of you likes it, then great. Then you know how to better divide and conquer. I think fair play, the deck is an awesome tool as well. If someone already has that, you can use that as a way to kind of spark the conversation. But it's hard to get someone to sit down and have that conversation. It's really overwhelming, especially I think when you're both working and you're tired and exhausted, and the idea of trying to take on more. I think there's a fear that comes up going, I think I'm good right now. Like, I don't know if I want to open this conversation up about maybe there's something else I have to take on. But I think going into it, if hey, this is all about helping each other find more time so we can enjoy each other, our partnership, our friends, and then more importantly, our family and our time together. I think that changes the focus when focusing on the goal of it is more time together and not just trying to, again, I said it before, but like barter over time.
We decided to outsource anything that occurs outside, right? So I can tell you that I actually regret spending all the time that I used to spend, like mowing the lawn and taking care of the shrubs and on, because when you factor in the cost of like a new lawnmower and gas and your time, and it just didn't make sense for us anymore. And also, when you outsource things, sometimes you can outsource things to people who are better. My yard won Yard of the Month for our HOA, something I'm very proud of. I'm going to add that to my email signature line, although I had nothing to do with it other than paying the service who did it. I finally won something.
Listeners have told us that they love the ideas we share on our podcast to manage money in the home as a team, but want more help than one episode can provide. That's why I'm excited to announce On the Same Page Consulting for corporations, couples, and individuals. Visit modernhusbands.com and click Our Services at the top of the page to learn more about how I can help you or your employees manage money in the home as a team. Again, that's modernhusbands.com. Now back to the show.
Now, Christine, I know that we're pushing outsourcing here. I know Dr. Ross and I, we do not worry about anything outside anymore. Christian lives in a condo in the city, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But there are societal pressures for men to do yard work. At least there are where I'm from. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think that it's an incredibly valid point that just like women, I think we feel the need to be more nurturing and motherly and take on some of these other roles in the home. Men feel the need to, put together that dollhouse and, put the IKEA furniture together and get the crib built themselves. And this goes back again to like, do you enjoy it? Do you really, that
Right.
lawn work? Like if you love getting outside and mowing that lawn, then do it. And that clearly makes no sense to outsource. But it's really getting honest with yourself. And that's brings us back a little bit, Dr. Ross, to what you were asking about that guilt and shame. Like it happens to men too, that pressure internally and societally of I'm supposed to be this, rock star who loves mowing the lawn on the weekends because I take care of my family. But really the man we want, this modern husband, we just want to hang out with you. We want to have memories all together as a family, laughing because we went to an amusement park that weekend, or we're hanging out on the couch and just watching our baby play around and we're experiencing these memories together. And so that's way more important, I think, to most women. And I know I'm now speaking on behalf of all women everywhere in the world, but, we'd rather have that than you out there mowing a lawn for us. Let's definitely hire someone for that. And, Dr. Ross, you can tiptoe into it. It might be a task rabbit that you hire that person just to build that crib for you because you're like, this is something I'm okay someone else doing right now. It doesn't have to feel like you outsource something and you're never going to be able to do it again. Or, I've officially taken my man card and handed it over to someone. There are one-time interactions and really, transactions of hiring that help that are still really valuable to your time, again, and your dread, and more importantly, again, that time together as a family.
Well, the point that you made, that most women, and the research supports your point. So I know that you were a little shy about saying, "Hey, I know here I am speaking on behalf of all women," but you're spot on that women do report that they would rather actually spend time with their husbands than have their husbands outside mowing the lawn. And maybe as Dr. Ross said, he loves to cook. Christian loves to cook. I love to cook. Maybe your thing is cooking, like it is for us. And instead of a Saturday being on the lawnmower trying to make your your lawn look good enough to win the HOA lawn of the month, maybe you're doing some outdoor cooking, hanging out with your wife. Maybe that's something that you enjoy a lot more than things like trying to change your oil in your Tesla. Like me, it's just I've never been able to figure it out.
I'm glad you brought up these points, because like going in through and thinking and having the conversation we did about when we decided to outsource this, it was like, why am I so attached to it? And there was that kind of feeling of initial guilt, right? And mostly because like I did landscaping, like I worked landscaping through high school and college to pay the bills. Like
Yeah,
I
me too.
know this. Like I'm actually like, I was semi like professional at it, working for like an actual company, like, and so like there was that part of me like, I can do this, I can do it well, I can do it just as well as anyone else. Why would I outsource this? And then it was really like realizing like I don't really care all that much as long as it's good enough. I don't need to win the HOA awards or anything like that. But it was then, why do I like it? And I think it was more of like there was a sense of the objective, like concrete, like accomplishment at the end, which was just about having a good looking house, which still is accomplished by outsourcing. And I like being outdoors. But now, like, because that Saturday is free, like I just go hiking with my partner. And so I still get kind of that exercise. I still get the endorphins, and I get to spend time with my partner, and I still get to be outside. So it was finding still those like, why did I like that? Like asking that question of why am I so attached to it? And am I okay with finding the alternative that's probably even more aligned with my values.
I love that point, because we talked a lot about the shoulds, but you're bringing up the other, elephant in the room, which is you're capable of doing it. You're available, worse yet. And so then you're like, well, I'm just going to do it, and that's how you don't end up outsourcing or delegating, because there's almost this, well, why not? I'm here, I'm available and I can. But what the missing piece is, again, that I've found is that's why it starts with defining your joy. It starts by defining like, what am I not doing? What am I missing out on that I want to do? Am I not reading enough? Am I not going on hikes enough? Am I not outside enough? Like, where do I want to be spending my time? And then that becomes a part of the equation. Yes, you're available. Yes, you're capable, but is there something else, that opportunity cost of your time, that we're not accounting for? And so you figured that out on your own, by realizing, wait a minute, I could go hiking, and yes, I'm good at this and I'm even an expert possibly at it, but it doesn't mean I have to be the one that's doing it. And if you want to go prune some hedges, like, you still can, just because you've had the guy come out, like,
still do little touch-ups in the yard, but like instead of spending like several hours, like all the base stuff is done, and I can just go out and like spend 20 minutes like doing the little touch-ups that I need.
Love that.
Okay. So you mentioned there you had a list of like 99 tasks. Now we talked about cooking and yard work as outsourcing, but what are some of the other most common tasks that couples are outsourcing?
So I think a ton of them relate to research, almost this assistant role that, again, when I go back to business, we outsource in business, a no-brainer. But at our homes, we don't have a personal assistant like we do in the office. We usually have an executive assistant or someone that's helping support us in these roles, because hey, we can be spending our time focusing on the bigger picture and someone else can follow up on that contract signing. And in their homes, I think there's a ton of family assistant duties like researching summer camps or filling out the doctor, the paperwork from the school, from the doctor, and coordinating getting that. I think even, even paying the bills. Like this is another one for husbands that I think you guys get a lot of assumption that you're in charge of the finances. And that's historically been a very man's role. But it could also be outsourced so that neither of you have to take that on, and you could hire a bookkeeper. There's, again, family assistants that could be trained in both that can do this remotely for you. So you still have a safety of feeling like, I know this person, we have video conferences, I've given them access to my information. It's not just, sending it off to someone you've never met before, because that obviously doesn't feel secure. But there's ways around, I think, finding that help for the things that you don't love doing and that are draining your time. So we talked about, yes, there's the cooking and the meal prep. There's some of that assistant work, of course, the housekeeping, and some of that cleaning. I think actually housekeeping is one of the OGs of outsourcing, because, I think women of the 50s, that was assumed to be the role. And then over time, as more women went into the workforce, they went, wait a minute, like, I don't want to get home and do this. And this doesn't bring me joy. And so most families got comfortable hiring a housekeeper. And that's, as a society, we're fine with that. We approve of that. And so I think that's my hope, is that there's more and more things like, oh, I have a meal prep chef, or, oh, I've hired someone to do drop off and pick up for me so that I can get that extra little bit of work done. So when my kids get home from work or from school, I'm there and I'm present and I'm all in, and I'm not still trying to finish up emails on my phone on the side. Gosh, there's so many more. Dr. Ross is the truth. But I'd say another one for a man, a personal stylist, even going shopping. That's something that's not always a comfort for some men, is trying to figure out what to wear and how to wear it. And honestly, as women, we don't really want to dress you. We really want you to look good and feel good about yourselves, but that's a great, another tool, another service that you can hire, and someone can do that in person. They can do it remotely. It saves you time from driving to the mall. And again, makes, has an expert that can come in and help you.
That's a great idea.
Plus, I mean, we're talking here with HOA Lawn of the Month winner. So, a stylist is in Brian's near future.
Oh, hey, Christian, there isn't a stylist that can make me look good. However, my wife has a stylist, and it is one of the best decisions that we've made, because, as Christine said, she's happier when she feels like she looks at her best. And the stylist helps her pick out like her color palettes and a lot of other things that I don't care about personally, but it's important to her.
I think we all
and
feel
as a
better.
woman, and I'll add that it's not just a look. The confidence is real, Brian, that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's even us having to think about, like, what are we going to wear? And is this appropriate? Does this look good? I mean, we're all in our heads so much more than we realize. And so
That's a
it goes
great
back
point.
to that, the physical time you're saving, sure, that someone helped you shop, but it's also that mental, headspace that you're freeing up. And that's what I really try to capture in Proxy, is our platform that really helps to identify these low joy tasks, provide suggestions for services, but we really calculate that time for you, of how much is the value of your time. And then more importantly, what's the cost of time to hire this service? And we take into consideration things like the physical time, sure, of driving, but also that mental headspace.
This is a great segue into my question for you. So what are the kind of barriers to entry for dual career, busy working couples? Why do folks hesitate to outsource, in your experience?
So we talked about the shoulds and the capability and the availability. I'd say that's the first one, but it's hard for people to give up control. You're a dual income family. You usually have a can-do, ambitious attitude. And I think there's that will this person do it as well as I would, and Dr. Ross, going back to your hedges, like you still go back and do some fine tuning. But some people might say, well, is it even worth it then if I have to go back and correct a few things? And my answer is still yes, because there's opportunity to train, to provide repeatable processes and procedures for them. And again, it's still freed up your time and headspace. But I'd say that's the first, is that feeling of giving up control, and will they do it as well as I would do? That's why I think it's important to find, again, experts, find someone that is a trusted, recommended service. That is something we've tried to do with Proxy, is we vetted every single service ourselves out of our own pocket, so that we are not paid by anyone. We don't receive any referral fees. I found that, again, over this 1.5-year journey of wanting to tell people you should delegate, one of the things was you don't have time to come home and then try to source who's the best to hire. There's that, again, fear of who can I trust in my home, who's going to do this well. So that was part of our journey of really developing Proxy, is saying, okay, well, let's go and test them. And I can honestly say, after 5 or 6 housekeeping services, we finally have found somebody. It took me about 9 different places to find a family assistant service that I can really recommend. I mean, it's a real fear, is my point. And really, last thing I'll add there would be, some people don't want someone in their home. Their home is sacred, and they don't want to really share that space with somebody. So to that, I think for me, my suggestion is to create boundaries of, whether there's certain times of the day, for example, mealtime, that's sacred in our family. It's kind of known with, again, whether we have our nanny there, who I treat as a family assistant, saying, hey, when we're doing mealtime, help us get set up, but then go do laundry. And the kids kind of know, like, she's doing laundry in the room, but really she's working on something else. Because that gives my husband and I time to catch up with the kids and talk and just have that be our core unit. The other is, obviously, there's a ton of remote services out there that if you really don't want a single person in your home, there's still a way for you to get that extra help and support that you guys need and free up more time.
I have an anecdote that might add some meat on the bones here from very recently in my life. So we have a baby. She's 4 months old, or about to be 4 months old on Saturday, coming up here. And when she was first born, we had a night nurse who were really lucky and privileged that we got to hire a night nurse to help take care of Georgia overnight so we could sleep. And I found myself, in preparation for this person to come here and take care of Georgia overnight, she would do things like clean pump parts and do the dishes and just tidy up around the apartment. But I found myself, like, obsessively cleaning before she arrived, because there was this, like, oh, is this stranger, is this person who we're trusting, are they going to be, like, judgmental of our crazy messy apartment? Of course not, but I built that up in my head as, like, something that I was going to be judged for. And so it's just this little encapsulation of the kind of fear of judgment, or just fear of having other folks in your home that you described, Christine.
Mm-hmm. And I think people want to help. If this is the role they've taken on and you have agreed, again, to payment terms, everyone has accepted the position, it's really helpful to give them a list of things to do around the house. And in that way, it's incredible. A night nurse is amazing, and a newborn care specialist, to help with sleep and all those things, again, that you don't know about and can't read every book out there to figure out. But I'd have them start a crock pot, at night for you, or in the morning when they're right before they leave. Do laundry, of course, empty the dishwasher, clean the pump parts, like you said. There's a lot of extra tasks that they can help with. And they're there and available. And I think that feeling of, okay, they're judging me a little bit, they're in my space, it's a natural instinct when they're first there. And then I don't know how long it's been now, but maybe you can attest that over time, it really does go away. It's a little weird in the beginning. You're not used to this person seeing you first thing in the morning in your bathrobe and all that. But then it becomes very normal. And more importantly, with the kids, they don't know any different. That's the reality when you start, especially when they're young like this with Georgia. She only knows that there's someone helping mom and dad, and that so that mom and dad are more available and we get to hang out together as a family more. And oh, that's maybe different than my friend, down the street, but wow, like her dad's really not around as much, or he's always out mowing the lawn instead of, with us at the park or whatever it is. And so I think that's a really important piece of realizing that, hey, it's normal for your family and that's all your kids know. And that you're actually teaching them an incredibly valuable lesson about the importance of family time. And again, how you value your time and what you're choosing to do with it.
Amazing. Can we talk about valuing our time in the context of evaluating whether or not to outsource something, like the cost benefit analysis? How do you weigh the value of your time in that cost benefit analysis when you're deciding, do I outsource something or not?
Oh, I do think that deciding whether you're going to outsource or not, it still is always going to come down to that dread. Do I dread this? Do I like this or not? Period. And even though, let's just say you love it, but you're still thinking, gosh, should I still outsource? Like we keep going back to the hedges and the outsourcing the gardener. I think that there is an element of, is there a better use of my time? It comes down to that opportunity cost of, even if I like it, you know what, I'm missing out on this other thing. Or, I'll, even if it's not physically a hike that you're going to go on instead, it's also that, well, what else am I going to have more energy for that, again, date we're going to go on later, or the school gala that we're going to attend and I'm going to show up 100% to, or, my in-laws are coming over and I'm actually going to, show up rested and well and be welcoming and all sorts of great things. And I think that's an important piece. The actual math of it, I'd say, sure, is you figuring out the value of your time. That is what Proxy does for you for free. That's going to be, of course, based on your income. A lot of it's going to also have to do with the number of hours you're working, not just assuming an 80-hour work week, but getting real honest about how many hours are you really spending at your job, and understanding your delegation style. That's another really big piece of this. Where do you get your value? Are you a saver? Are you a do-it-yourselfer? Like, what do we need to fight through here to figure out, is there really a better service, a better solution?
Can you tell us about your company and where our listeners can learn more?
Peacock Parent. You can find us on Instagram at Peacock Parent. And I'd love for you to sign up for our newsletter, where we talk a lot about delegation and the concept of buying time. And really our quiz, Proxy, it's free to take and can be a quick way for you to evaluate your time and your delegation style and get a sneak peek of, hey, what could I afford? And what maybe does make sense for our family without, any commitment.
Chris, for our listeners, we want to make sure you know that we have linked in the descriptions and the notes to this episode where you can go to find Peacock Parent and then the quiz. I took the quiz. I want to encourage listeners to take the quiz. It's advertised as taking 2 minutes. It might take a little longer because it's valuable, and you can't extract value from a 30-second quiz. So give yourself some time to be thoughtful in your responses so you can understand how you can use delegation services, outsourcing services to improve your life and your marriage. With that said, we love to leave our listeners with one piece of simple and actionable advice that they can apply in their lives. So with that, Christine, what would it be?
I would say initiate the conversation, especially as a man. That is it is so huge and attractive. And, don't wait for your partner to bring it up, and just say, hey, I listen to this podcast. I want to sit down. If you want to download my 99 tasks as an example, great. If not, use whatever, method you choose. But, have some thoughts going into the conversation. Don't just put it on her plate or his plate to say, what do you think? Do more, really take that time, Brian, like you said, whether it's through my quiz of taking the full 4 or 5 minutes of really diving into what do I like doing? What do I not like doing? And more importantly, ask her too, and make sure that you're giving her the opportunity and space to really say, I don't love doing drop-offs. I know I'm supposed to. I know the other moms do it, but it's kind of a waste of my time. And I'd rather be doing my workout and not feel rushed in the morning and whatever it may be. So I think my advice is to initiate that conversation with your partner and come to the table with some thoughts so you can really lead by example in that way.
Well, Christine, Christian, Dr. Ross, and I all use outsourcing services in our marriages, and we can attest to the value that it brings into our relationships, and what a wonderful gift that we can provide our partners. And I can assure you that if you do it the right way, approaching it using the strategies that you brought up in today's episode, that you will be happier. It's worth the time. It's worth the effort. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us today, Christine.
Thank you so
much,
much,
everyone.
Don't leave just yet. Be sure to like and subscribe before you do. And a reminder to visit modernhusbands.com if you're looking for money and home management support in your life. Just click the Our Services button at the top of the page. Again, that's at modernhusbands.com. And many thanks to our co-hosts, our guests, and of course, all of you for joining today.